What's up, everybody? So I'm over here in Dearborn, which is technically like historic Detroit. When I was younger, I went on a field trip a long time ago for school. We went to this house over here where the first Merriam-Webster dictionary was ever created. And the house is kind of like a museum. I think you can go in there still at certain times of the day. I don't think it's open right now. But I'm going to take you guys by it real quick since I'm in the area. It's somewhere over here on these streets off of Michigan Avenue. I'm pretty sure it's right here. We're getting really close. It might be down a little bit farther. Yeah, it's down farther. I used to come over here a lot when I was young. This tower, my two little brothers, dad, he had family member up there. We used to go up on that tower all the time. And they got a bunch of, like every year they have fireworks and stuff at the park right here. It's actually really nice setup they usually have. It's always really nice. It's actually a decent park to visit. They got a nice river going through it. It's nice. That's usually how you can get down this where you can get to the park on the other side of the park, and they have a hill you go sledding during the winter. My dad used to take us a lot. We'd be out there all night. And what's funny is my stepmom would never come out with us. Would never come. It'd be me and my stepsisters and my dad. My stepmom never came. I don't have one memory really of her ever being there. I think one. So yeah, here it is. It's that house right there. Not the building, but behind it. It's really old. What is this guy doing? He's looking down. Yeah, I've been in this place. They have like all the different like dictionaries and shit and all the different words, and I study words and the Bible and different languages and math and numbers. That's what I go to school for. It's what I'm heading to Florida for, so I can get my master's, pick up my diploma. But here's the building. It's pretty unique. It's crazy to think that this is the place that the dictionary was invented at. It says a military reserve in Dearbornville. Dearborn was an outpost on the western frontier. Because of expansion from Detroit and Indian disturbances to the west, in 1833, the federal government began construction of an arsenal on its military reserve land near where the old Sauk Trail crossed the Rouge River. The strategic Detroit Arsenal at Dearbornville offered easy access to Detroit and to military objectives to the south and west by land and by water. The buildings and land were sold after the arsenal closed in 1875, and this was where the dictionary was invented. One of them. From left barracks, guardhouse, and sutler shop, store, photo courtesy of the Dearborn Historical Museum. So this is what it looked like back in the day. Says the Armory Building, the largest building at the Federal Arsenal. That's this building that we're at. The Commandment Quarters left. Gun and Carriage Shop right. So the Gun and Carriage Shop is here. Left was the Commandment Quarters over here. Says you auto no. 4 of the original Arsenal buildings still stand. The Commandment's Quarters, the Gun and Carriage Shop, and the Sutler Shop store, and the Powder Magazine. So this is the whole property all around here. So this is basically the buildings. There's the building and these buildings as well. It's all one piece, one part of the property. Which people would come here and, load up their weapons and all that other stuff. And then here's the Native American history, the Native Americans and stuff. It says, Native American history. Native American groups have inhabited Metro Detroit for thousands of years. Over time, a large variety of Native American groups have called Dearborn home, including the Fox, the Sauk, the Kickapoo, Menominee, Miami, Ottawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi. It says, a large conflict between Native groups in the 1600s forced many Native Americans to leave the region. As a result, the first Europeans found relatively few Native Americans in Metro Detroit. And that was after the fur trade, because Detroit was actually pronounced Detroit, which is French. It wasn't called Detroit, it was called Detroit. So it says, early pioneers, as Detroit's population gradually grew through the 1700s and 1800s, Dearborn gradually transitioned from wilderness to a small farming community. Families, some coming from as far away as Europe, arrived in the area to take advantage of the availability of the land. It says this photo depicts the area that is now downtown West Dearborn in the 1890s, early 1900s, which, if you go down to the Rouge plant, like down south, down this way, I'd say about 10 miles this way, you still can see all the leftover, historical stuff. They have preserved a lot of the stuff, for a Ford Rouge plant. You can do like the Ford Rouge plant tour. We might do that before I leave. I don't know. We'll see. Says everything has changed. A brief history of Dearborn. Although Dearborn is well known for its people and culture, it wasn't always that way. In this exhibit, we will discuss the different eras of Dearborn's history that shaped it into the city we know today. So this is the museum, the building that we're at right now. That was the old Brady building, the garrison, the roads, all that stuff. It says, the Detroit Arsenal at Dearbornville. In the 1830s, the United States Army relocated Detroit's military arsenal to the area where you are currently standing. The area was named Dearbornville in honor of the Revolutionary War General Henry Dearborn. It says, the Detroit Arsenal at Dearbornville brought activity to the area, and businesses supporting the arsenal formed today's downtown West Dearborn. Following the Civil War, the arsenal was decommissioned. It says Ford Motor Company. Born in 1863 and raised on a farm in today's Dearborn, Henry Ford would found Ford Motor Company in 1903 and go on to become one of the most renowned figures in the entire world. Ford built the Ford Rouge Ridge Complex in 1918, bringing thousands of workers to Dearborn. The 1936 Ford Rotunda Visitor Center was one of the nation's top tourist attractions before burning down in 1962. Ford remains headquartered in Dearborn and active in the community, which I've always heard about this place when I worked at Henry Ford Museum, Greenfield Village. They always talked about the Rotunda plant and all that stuff. It says immigration. It says Dearborn has a long history of immigration owing in part to the availability of high-paying manufacturing jobs through Ford. While groups from all over the world call Dearborn home, immigrants from the Middle East are particularly well known, and they have a long history in the area. One of the nation's first purpose-built mosques was built in the area in 1938. Depicted here are Selena area dancers in 1975 and children at Dearborn South End Festival in 1984. Which I grew up with a lot of Middle Eastern people. I can speak and understand Arabic pretty well. I'm not fluent by any ways, but I'm getting there. I practice it. I enjoy it. I study it. I listen to it. I enjoy the people and the culture. I enjoy all cultures. I'm heading to Mexico to get married to a Spanish woman, a Mexicana woman, a real Mexican woman. Not a Spanish woman, a real Mexican woman. There's a difference, and she will tell you. She will let you know. Believe me, she will let you know. Alright, next, it says 1833. It says the Detroit Arsenal relocates to a small farming community that becomes known as Dearbornville. A community gradually grows around the Arsenal and becomes the Dearborn we know today. This photo, taken in 1863 or 1864, shows the Arsenal's commandments quarters during the heyday as a Civil War mustering point. 1875 says Arsenals closed at the end of the Civil War and expansion of the United States mean it is no longer necessary as a military installation. Over the years, the commandment quarters will see use as a police station, a school, library, and city hall. This photo taken in the early 20th century shows the building as a city hall. And then I'll go back to this, but this, probably leaves a lot of context out. So it's the story of us. October 14, 2020 marks the 70th birthday of the Dearborn Historical Museum. These photos chronicle the history of the museum and its growth over time, from Dearborn's humble beginnings to the bustling community it is today. I didn't even say that right, community. I said community. Yeah, can't speak. It says 1952, great guns. It says ahead of one of the Dearborn Historical Museum's first major exhibit openings, the 1757 Nowland family powder horn on loan from the Detroit History Society is mysteriously stolen from the museum. While the thief is never caught, the powder horn is found and returned 67 years later in 2019. That's crazy. Says right here, it says, following the purchase of the commandment quarters in 1949-1950, a formal dedication ceremony for the Dearborn Historical Museum is hosted on October 14th, 1950, at an event called the Cavalcade of Dearborn. It says a large parade is held in front of dignitaries including Michigan Governor Soapy Williams, Dearborn Mayor Orville Hubbard, and Dearborn City Council. It says, 1996, the Richard Gardner House, built in 1831, is moved from Greenfield Village to the Dearborn Historical Museum under the supervision of Mayor Michael Guido, Wright, frequently visited by Henry Ford as a boy. The Gardner House was hand-selected by Henry to be one of the Greenfield Village first structures. 1971, it says Commandment Quarters was listed on the National Register of Historic Places, signifying its status as one of the nation's most historically significant buildings. Congressman John Dingell left attendance a ceremony honoring the occasion. This is 1956. The McFadden Ross House opens to the public as a new part of the Dearborn Historical Museum, built in 1839 to serve as the powder magazine for the Detroit Arsenal several blocks away. It was later converted into a farmhouse and homestead. What people don't understand is this area was one of the most popular, most richest areas in the whole world. In our time, in our era, and our parents, our grandparents' era before us. This was the place to be in the early 1900s, 1930s, because of the Big Three, and mostly because of Henry Ford and the war. You know, not only was America, the United States of America, a symbol of freedom and status quo, you were able to come here and provide for yourself and be a blue-collar worker and feed many families, many people. So it was a good thing. People came from all over the world, especially people that were under oppression from other countries during the wars. Whatever it was. It could have been addiction, war, whatever. It didn't matter. They came. A lot of Middle Eastern people, that they pushed all the Polish Italians out and every other culture. It's mostly just, you still got a lot of them left, but it's mostly Middle Eastern people now. It says, Michigan soldiers trained at U.S. Arsenal during Civil War. It says, during the period of the American Civil War, the U.S. Arsenal in Dearborn, then Dearbornville, served as training facilities for Michigan soldiers. This marker is a testimony and a memorial to those men and their units who gave a measure of their devotion they include. It says, the 1st Michigan Sharpshooters Regiment, approximately 1/3 to 1/2 of the unit's 10 companies were casualties, including men from All Indian Company K. 4 men received the Congressional Medal of Honor, and Battery M of 1st Light Artillery. Dearborn Historical Mission Marker. It says, in appreciation, Lawrence C. Shepard, who inspired the concept of the 1976 Arsenal restoration for the American Revolution bicentennial. So, I'm going to go read some more of this board. Finish it. It says, Palestine, the Palestinian protest march on Michigan Avenue led by a boy in traditional robes in 91. Greece, 4 years old Stacy Bogodams performing at the Greek festival at Ford Woods Ice Arena in 1980. By 1950, Greeks made up 35% of Dearborn's population. Romania, says Denis Marganin, dressed in traditional attire in 1952. By 1950, says Romanians made up of 63% of Dearborn's population. I wasn't lying. I study this stuff. I know this stuff. It says Lauren Asayan performing Armenian classical dance, Armenia. African-American Pearl Hill and her grandson P.J. Walls worshiping at the Hill Memorial Church of God in Christ in 97. It says Spain. It says Neves and Julia Martin in Spanish gowns in 1952. Then you have Lebanon. It says Susan Dandy and Mohammed Faraj. It says modeling traditional dress at the Islamic gathering at the Haya Inn. It's pretty cool. I like it. I like this girl too. It says Croatia. Vera Payer in a Croatian costume with traditional dolls. It says Finland, Emilia Rutila, and her daughter Muriel, who is dressed in traditional gown, 1952. And then you have some Scotland. You know, you can tell they're Scottish. Scotland siblings Matt and Heather Turnbull performing in the traditional Scottish kilt at St. Andrews, 131st Annual Highland Gathering in 1980. I like how she touches her fingers. I do that all the time. So when your organs are touched to your fingers. When you gotta put your fingers together, touch both hands together. A lot of people don't know that. You got to do that repeatedly when you do yoga and you breathe. It helps open up the channels, your spiritual energy and the physical too. It helps get air into all the parts of your body and to cleanse yourself, detox yourself. Dearborn, Detroit Arsenal. Teddy Bear Picnic, it says. They actually have concerts here down the street too all the time. So yeah, that's it. We'll go walk around the building, which I gotta fucking piss, so it's gonna be quick if I gotta go. The Arsenal Sentry Box, replica of type used here, 1833, 1875. It says donor and designer Lawrence C. Shepard, craftsman Harry E. Bender, a local Michigan sesquicentennial project. Which you can't open it, but yes, sir. It says this portion of the wall is a replica of one that once surrounded the entire Arsenal grounds. It is a 12 feet high and 30 inches thick. The outside wall measured 360 feet on each of the four sides of the enclosure. The place where the wall joined the opposite side of this building can still be seen. The external bricks in this wall are original and were made by hand. It's pretty cool. But yeah, if you go in there, you see all the dictionaries and all that stuff too. It's pretty cool. But yeah, the Merriam-Webster dictionary was created in this building. It was invented and put together and published and all that. We'll go read the commandment. We'll go read that sign, and then I got to get out of here because I got to go. But yeah, it's a really nice place down here, downtown Dearborn, on the west side. The east side Dearborn, Warren is where you really want to go eat for cheap and real authentic family Middle Eastern food. Here, this is all the high-end shit. This is where you come to drink and stuff and that type of stuff. It says commandment quarters. This building was one of the 11 built in 1833 for the United States Detroit Arsenal at Dearbornville. A walled compound, a 360-foot square, was erected to store military supplies on the frontier. Constructed of red brick in the Federal style, this arsenal was located on strategic Chicago Road, now Michigan Avenue. The quarters were a center for social and cultural events in Dearborn until they were closed in 1875. The commandant's quarters later became a fire station, police station, church, courthouse, school facility, library, and meeting hall. The Dearborn Historical Commission acquired the building in 1949 and opened it as the city's historical museum on October 14th, 1950. Pretty interesting stuff, as people are all staring at me. But yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I love Detroit. There's many historical buildings, houses around here, beautiful homes. I'm half tempted to get one over here before I go. That way I can just say I have it, but because I grew up here, you know. Detroit's always been home to me. I've always come back, so. But I'm heading out, so I'll see you guys later. I gotta go take care of stuff.